This is Joe Jack Talcum from the Dead Milkmen, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Big Strix Vinyl Records and Sports Cards, located in Rock Island, Illinois. New, vintage, and previously owned. You can find it at Big Strix. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is Joe Jack Talcum of the Dead Milkmen.
Yeah, it was really cool. They were talking about how they came up with this idea of putting out singles every quarter, 2 tracks, bringing back the age of the B-side.
Yeah, well, hey, let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Joe, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Joe, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? We had Rodney on, I think about, 2 years ago,
yeah.
And he was a blast.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to be a blast like him. We're different people.
You guys were promoting Quaker City Quiet Pills at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, great, yeah.
Uh-huh. All right, well, let's get right into it. So, you've been working with the Dead Milkmen on a series of digital singles. Can you talk a little bit more and give our listeners an insight to this approach of releasing new Dead Milkmen music?
Yeah, this is something that we've never done exactly like this before. Dean said, "Why don't we do a single every quarter?"
Yeah.
And by single, he meant 2 songs. Like when we were growing up, singles had 2 songs, A and a B side. Without bothering with any physical thing. Mm-hmm. We did this like 15 or 16 years ago. We did do a series that morphed into an album. We did a series of 4 singles that were physical, and these ones are not physical. And back then, I think it was 2012, we pressed them up ourselves, and it was very DIY. We had them shipped to my house, or my house, and shipped them out to the distributors and did that all ourselves.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that decision to do the 2, the A side, the B side. That's what I miss the most as being a fan and being a collector. You know, we get tons of singles from artists all the time in this today age, but I always like,
they're just songs.
I'm like,
yeah.
What about the B sides?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Talk a little bit more about that decision to do that.
We didn't really put that much thought into it, except that it would give us a chance to record 2 songs in a studio session. Studios aren't cheap, and we like to get some bang for our buck. So while we're in there, play 2 songs instead of 1.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so maybe down the road these might become physical, but it won't be us doing it.
Well, this brings up a really good point, is that, we've talked to so many artists over the years that, hey, let's face it, you can record an album in your home. You can record it anywhere part of your house. You don't have to get into that proper studio.
I know.
To record.
We're old school.
Yeah. So, with that being said, being old school that you are, how important is for you and the rest of the band to get into a proper studio and bang these songs out?
I don't know how important it is. It's just the way we've been doing it since forever. Now, we did, during the 2020 pandemic, we released on our Bandcamp an album that was nothing but us in our individual home demo studios, whatever, computers. Mm-hmm. And you can compare that sound quality to the other stuff. It's a lot lower.
Oh, very good.
I'm always amazed.
We're not engineers.
Yeah. I'm always amazed that bands can do that. That they can hey, email you this part and email you that part, and somebody splices it all together. But I'm always intrigued to how do they go about turning that into a song that you can actually play live? They seem to pull it off, but does it?
You do it one. We go one way and the other way.
Yeah.
We've gone from, we make songs that are demos and then that are made in our own home studio, and then we leave it up to us in a rehearsal space to make it live. You're not going to get it to be like the demo. Dean doesn't play like a drum machine, and my demos have drum machines on them because I'm not a drummer, so I don't play real drums.
Yeah. Do you feel like not being in the studio and splicing the tracks together, do you feel like that takes some of the soul out of the song a little bit?
By not being in the studio? Yeah. Well, I don't know if it takes, I don't know what zaps the soul out of our songs, but it might. We've always done it we've always approached the studio almost always like we know the songs inside and out, and go in and record them and just try to get the best feel in the studio. I think the more you know the song, the more you can then put, what do you call that, soul into it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there are times when there are some songs that we almost just fell together in the studio, but those are the rare exceptions for us.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked to so many artists, in this modern era of music that, they've totally ditched the whole, releasing an album, just releasing singles. There's no more physical copy from them. For me, as a high school kid growing up, listen to Dead Milkmen, listen to the albums. The band always had albums, right? So, talk about this new era for you guys of releasing stuff digitally, opposed to, albums that I remember from you guys.
Well, to me, I like that one aspect of the new digital thing is the immediacy of it, because we don't have to wait. The songs that we've released recently were recorded. When they were released, they were probably recorded less than 2 weeks before people first could hear them on the streaming services, and that's not something that ever happened with physical media. There's a waiting game you have to play.
Right.
And you have to get it mastered for the physical media, whatever it is, and then you have to approve the masters. You have to get the printing approved and all that stuff. So it takes a while. This is so much more immediate. Dean just whips up an image for the sleeve, the cover, the art, and we release it through the aggregator, and there it is.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about the single "When Daddy Drinks." That's one of my favorite songs of the newest ones you guys have put out. Do you have a story?
Oh yeah.
Do you have a story behind that song?
That's a demo that Rodney came up with years and years ago. Gosh, I don't know what we were working on at the time, but it never got. I don't know. Rodney's very prolific.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He writes a lot, but he's also very critical of his own stuff, and Dan in particular wanted to do it. This may have gone all the way back to the King in Yellow for all I know, but Rodney didn't think it was worth it at the time. We had all this other stuff we were working on anyway, so it just got pushed aside. And every time we come up start writing new songs, Dan would say, "What about When Daddy Drinks?" And Rodney would go, "I don't know about that." Then finally, when we decided to do the single series, Rodney kind of worked on it a little more. He tweaked it a little bit, changed some of the chords, and added some different words, and said, "How's this for Redux version of?" And we said, "Yeah, let's do it." And yeah, people really cottoned on to that one. They like that one. They say it's more like our old school style.
And then the newest one has a long title, but I'm going to shorten it just to Where Billionaires Go to Die.
Oh yeah,
love that song.
Title's so long it doesn't for the registration services. It's too long to fit in. But yeah, that's the longest title we've ever written. And that's two songs. One that I wrote and one that Rodney wrote. But musically, that is, he wrote most of all the words and asked me to sing parts of them. But we just jammed them together. Not very well. You can hear one song ends and the other song kind of creeps in there. And we call it one song.
I guess this is going back to the music business in the now. Is I guess maybe as soon as last week we were interviewing a guest, and they said that releasing a full album is almost kind of like suicide for a band, because it's the album is released, it's new for a week, then it's forgotten in two. Can you talk a little bit more about that approach to hey, maybe this modern era of releasing physical copy or right away instead of releasing singles leading up to the album is maybe the best way, opposed to it's the opposite now. What it used to be is it's the opposite now.
I tried to follow that, and I think if a new band comes along and people like them, they might pay more attention to everything they do at first. But I think with every band, with most bands, unless you're really, really good, people get stuck on the old stuff that they heard first. Mm-hmm. And they just want to hear they want to hear a variation of that again. And bands want to do new stuff, and when they do new stuff, then they get caught in that situation.
Yep, understandable. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what's the best way to do it. We hear from young people, or we hear that young people we're in our 60s now, most of us. Just listen to songs. They're not concerned with albums, and that's the way the algorithm feeds them their music based on what they've heard before and their mixes and all that. And so why bother with making albums? Just make really good songs.
But
when we made albums, we tried to make them all really good songs on the albums.
But the thing that I guess that because Jeff and I we're encroaching our middle 50s, the thing that bothers me about that the most is that when a band is releasing singles opposed to releasing full length albums, we lose the deep cut. We lose the B-side songs, and those are the songs that I look forward to the most. And what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. The B-sides are sometimes the best. They're the songs that you have your catchy songs and you have your deep cuts, but the catchy songs might bring you back to listen to the album a second or third time, but it's the deep cuts that bring you back to the album a year later or 2 years later. And they're the ones that sink in because they're deep. Exactly. And they can't be singles. So there's room for all that stuff. I don't know. Our way of approaching these singles isn't like a normal band approaching single that'll be a hit, because we know these. I think we've realized now we're not going to have any hit singles. So we're just making these are just songs that stand alone and don't need to have another song to support them.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, this is not the question I was going to ask, but I guess that kind of leads to that. Talk a little bit more about, in this modern era, making songs that, as a band, for yourselves or for your diehard fans, like just making music for the love of making music, rather, because there is no avenue to unless you're a well-established act or.
I mean, you guys are, you're considered a heritage act.
Yeah.
You guys have been around the block a long time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of heritage acts if they had a manager, they'd probably say, "Don't be careful what you release because you don't want to ruin your heritage."
Right.
So you get less and less product out of them. But we're doing the opposite thing.
Well, but some bands just might, and call it quits. But you guys are continuing to make music, which is refreshing. That's great.
Okay. Yeah, and it's less boring for us.
Exactly.
And it gives us an excuse to use our rehearsal space every. And to be honest, it does pull in money, because even though we're heritage acts, but we also have a small. We have I would call them a hardcore set of fans that listen to everything we do, and we're not. We still want to give them quality. I mean, we care about what we put out.
Fair enough.
But we know they're not going to be smash hits.
Yeah.
Like our first album was.
For sure.
Well, I guess the other question I had was, you guys are still playing live and stuff. Are you seeing an influx of newer, younger fans coming in, or is it still pretty much the diehard fans coming to see the shows, or is there hope for the young generation catching on to punk music?
There's definitely younger fans coming in, but I wouldn't call those people mainstream.
Yeah. They're
probably the outliers in their high schools or wherever they be. But that's kind of like, we were a band that appealed to fringe in the first place.
Well, sure.
Before punk even took off like it did.
Fair enough. Well, this year is the 40th anniversary of the Big Lizard in My Backyard album. The songs have been the songs have been remastered. Tell us a little bit more about revisiting this classic album.
We got the rights to the original tapes. So we got the tapes. We had them transferred from they were 8-track, reel to reel, and we listened to them. I was kind of surprised that we did 2 takes of a lot of things because I don't remember that exactly. I thought we just went in the studio and just knocked everything out. Yeah. But we did 2 takes of a lot of stuff, and amazingly, we used the first take almost every time, and the second take was almost indistinguishable from the first take because I guess we had played these songs so much live before going in to record that album. We found one song that I totally forgot about that was an outtake, and it had words, which I thought it was. I remembered playing it, and it was only an instrumental, but it actually had words. So that was pretty nifty, and it's definitely not worthy of being on the album. So that's why it was an outtake. But it was interesting to hear that stuff again, and I also attended a remastering session. I haven't been to many mastering sessions in my life, so that was fun to see happen and watch and hear how much you can change the sound of something.
Absolutely.
So we remastered it.
Well, I guess the question about, revisiting this album, let's face it, this album has held cult following, to this day. And when you and the rest of the band were in the studio, recording these songs, did you ever have in the back of your mind that these songs, this album, 40 years later, would hold the importance that it does in the musical landscape?
Well, I didn't know. I don't know about 40 years, but I had in the back of my mind that we were doing something awesome, despite whatever I heard other people say, despite all the detractors. I just thought that we could have done a better job recording it. I was disappointed in myself, particularly in that we did 2 different sessions, 2 different, what do you call it? Well, I think our session would be like one full day of recording and then 1 full day of overdubbing and mixing,
right? Yeah.
And maybe three days per set. 3 days would have been maximum per session, and we did half the album. Then we recorded half the album. I thought we were going to put that out as an EP, but that didn't work out. Our investor backed out on us, who was going to help us press it. Then we found a record company that would put it out, but they said they wanted a full album, not just an EP, and they gave us about another $1,000 to go back into the same studio and do another 10 songs. This is why it's like a 19-song thing. But with the second session, I was really, really sick. They didn't cancel. We still went and did it. I kind of like had a flu or something. The guy who owned the studio had cough syrup, and he gave me cough syrup. I drank probably most of the bottle, so I was a little messed up on cough syrup, and I didn't play I played kind of sloppily, but it still works. It still kind of works, but I was disappointed in what I did. And in fact, I passed out after Rodney and I lived in an apartment together. And after we got back to the apartment, I was drinking beers too. I was 22 years old, sure. 21 years, 22, 21, not doing the right thing. I should have been drinking water. I totally passed out. I mean, I fainted, and he called an ambulance. And the next thing I know, I'm in an ambulance going to the hospital. Because of dehydration, they told me I was dangerously dehydrated. I was on cold medicine and not taking care of myself properly. So Rodney would often remind me that he quote unquote, saved my life. And I owed him something for that.
That's awesome. Well, take us back to that, 1983 to 1985 time frame when you're forming the band and you're on the streets of Philadelphia. You're out playing. What were the clubs like, and getting that band going?
Oh, they were terrible. They were dives, but they were fun. The clubs, we played in frat parties, frat houses. We played at people's basements if we could. We played in We played in a living room. We played in a barn, party that was in a barn in the suburbs, which we made a tape of, called Funky Barn. We played outside in front of an antique store for a block party. We took any gig we could get. We played in community centers, VFWs. Yeah, the bars were your typical dive bars. There was one called the East Side Club, which was the punk club in Philly. And the first time we played there, I and Rodney were underage, and they wouldn't let us go out. They wouldn't let us go out in front to see the other bands. We were the opening band. So we were stuck backstage, which kind of sucked.
Very good.
Although I turned 21 and I got to see the Bottle Surfers at that very venue. We opened up for them.
Oh, so cool.
We opened up for them. So, but Rodney still had to stay backstage because he's a year younger, half a year younger than me.
Did you get to meet Paul Leary?
Yes, we met all the Bottle Surfers.
Oh, so cool.
On more than one occasion, we saw them in Austin, Texas as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that was a fun show.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring this one more question about the Big Lizard in My Backyard album. The marketing for that album, I mean, I so many kids in my high school were wearing the T-shirt. Lizard, big green lizard on a T-shirt.
Wow. That must have been our heyday then.
It was 1986, man.
Yeah.
So
okay, those are the good old years.
Yeah, you betcha. So it was a very basic, cartoonish kind of concept, but
Dean's a graphic artist. Dean did it.
Brilliant marketing, though. Yeah. I mean, it was so simple but so cool. Was there
it's still recognizable?
Yeah. Was there a strategic plan to do something so, I guess, maybe kind of basic but yet so brilliant at the same time?
I'd like to say there was, but I don't think there was. I think that's just the way. Maybe Dean strategized it. I mean, in a way, yes, because we were doing what the other bands around us were doing.
And that's it, huh?
They were making T-shirts. They sold. That's what you did. You made T-shirts. You sold them at your shows, and of course, we knew T-shirts. Kids wear them, and that's their advertising for the band. Yeah. So word of mouth. We had to rely on word of mouth, and we had to rely on whatever we could to get publicity, because we knew we weren't going to be a mainstream commercial radio band.
Well, you guys did something right, because if you had kids in Rock Island, Illinois,
in the Midwest,
wearing Big Lizard My Backyard T-shirts,
yeah.
and it was.
I played a show in Rock Island once.
Hey, you remember?
Yeah, I remember playing that show.
Very cool.
Let's talk a little bit for the band. In today's social media, all the different venues you have for, we're back to almost DIY sometimes and self promotion. I know you guys use Bandcamp, which I'm a big fan of. Can you talk a little bit about the band's approach to self promotion?
We do. I guess it's a hodgepodge. Rodney had an idea to do a YouTube show we did for a while. You could almost call it a podcast, but we never did call it that. It was called Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. So we were just talking we have an annual meeting once a year where we all get together with our manager. We still have a manager, the same manager we've had since 1986. Same guy. Dan mentioned his kids. Dan has kids he has kids that are in school.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they're school age. They do a YouTube channel on there. Like they said, does Dead Milkmen have a YouTube? Oh, Dead Milkmen do have a YouTube channel. Why don't they do anything with it other than post music videos? So Dan brought that to the meeting, and Rodney said, I have an idea what we could do. And it became Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen, which we did for a few years.
Oh, very cool.
A weekly show where we talk to each other.
Well, the Dead Milkmen will be performing a free show in Philadelphia on September 27th. Talk a little bit more about this opportunity. Give us the details. What's happening?
It's free to anybody who wants to attend. It's in Philadelphia. It's Spruce Park Harbor, which is on the waterfront. This is part of the Summer Sound series. They've already had, I think, 3 of them where it's on the last Saturday of each month. So June, July, August, and this will be September. So technically not summer anymore, but it's part of that series, the last of the series.
Oh, cool.
And it should be cool. So far it's gone without a hitch. We'll see if same thing happens with us when we play it. We did a similar free show thing on the 3rd of July in Detroit, and that was a lot of fun. So
very cool.
We'll see what this will be the next one that's free to attend. We'll see if we're already rehearsing for it, so we should be well rehearsed.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, in addition to the Dead Milkmen, you've had quite a few solo albums yourself, basement tapes that you've put out, and with various band name monikers with them. In 2024, you had Basement Blenders with Chris Oliver. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Chris Oliver.
Yeah.
That's somebody we met at Detroit. Well, actually, technically Hamtramck, which is a city surrounded by the city of Detroit, but for all practical purposes, it's all Detroit to me. But it's Hamtramck. I met him when we played that show. Talked to him for a while. We exchanged. Well, you don't even have to exchange information these days because you just go on Facebook or whatever. Right. But yeah, we got our numbers, and he just. For shits and giggles, for one day he decided to take one of my songs, Lovers Attack the World.
Yeah, I like that one.
And put drums, and he just put drums and some other instrumentation over top of my recording and sent it to me and said, look what I did last night. And I'm like, whoa, I like what you did to that. I like how you arranged it and everything. And it sounds like such I wish you were there when I actually recorded it. And so I asked him if we could release that, and maybe he started doing other things. He calls it reimagining songs by overdubbing on top of them.
Yeah.
So I said, let's collaborate on some songs that we just built up from the ground up, brand new ones, and we started doing that too. So we put out an album. He put it out on his Bandcamp. I wanted him to put it on his Bandcamp.
Very good.
Yeah, that's cool.
I almost thought it was going to get a vinyl release for a second, but that fell through. But it's digitally available.
Okay. Well, I guess I want to form this question the right way. You've been doing your solo thing since 2004. I guess talk about separating yourself from the Dead Milkmen as a solo artist. Has there been any trials or tribulations to it? Yeah,
I didn't plan to be a solo artist, but the Dead Milkmen disbanded in 2004 or 5. We disbanded in 1994. Put out our last thing in 95 as a band to go our separate way to do our own thing for a while with no plans to get back together. But we did get back together after Dave died, the bass player, and we got Dan in the band. But in the meantime, when we were not back together and I didn't foresee us getting back together, I got approached to play solo by the guy in the low budgets, Chris Peel out. His friend from Maine was doing a tour and was coming to Philly, and he wanted someone to open up for him, and his friend was playing solo acoustic, and Chris kind of twisted my arm and said, "Please, can you open up for him?" His name's Micah Smaldone. For Micah's show, a lot of songs, you can play them. And I said, I've played, songs in front of people many times, in not at a show though. And I said, I don't think I would want to get up there and play by myself in a show. But he said, you can do it. You'll like it. Please, please, please. Okay, so I did it, and it was fun. Still not planning to play another show, but then somebody at that show asked me if I would play another show, and it just kept going like that. This was 2004. And then I got asked to do a tour with Micah. So that kind of got the ball rolling, and I started. I had always put out tapes and stuff and handed them out to my friends. Yeah. I didn't have anything released. And then also around that same time, somebody from Virginia who had a small CD label, this is in the CD era, asked if he could compile my solo recordings into a CD, and I said, sure, you can do that. And just made more people want me to play shows, and that took off from there. Oh, yeah. So I do it as a side thing.
Yeah, very cool.
I don't really go out of my way to try to do it, although I've done several tours, usually with bands who have tours set up, and they say, do you want to come along with us? You don't need a drive. You can just hop in the van. And I say, yeah, that sounds easy. I'll do that.
Very cool. Sounds fun. I want to take it back to the low budgets. You talked about...
Oh, the low budgets, yeah.
Yeah. You talked about Chris as a singer. You're playing guitar, I believe, and Dan Stevens was on bass.
I was playing... Yeah, Dan Stevens was on bass, and that's his gateway into being the Dead Milkmen's bass player. But... yeah, Chris put that band together. He asked me to play keyboards, so I found an old 60s Farfisa style keyboard to play in the band, because the whole idea of the band was that it was going to be retro garage rock and punk. And that was a whole lot of fun. I didn't write hardly anything for that band. I wrote a few things, but I enjoyed just playing.
Well, that is a super cool band.
I know, yeah. We were listening to some tracks off of Leave Us Alone before we called you.
So it was
pretty
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, we love it. Well, we're out of our allotted time for this evening.
Yeah, okay.
Is there anything we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
No, I think.
Did we do a good job covering everything for you tonight?
Yes.
Oh,
you did an awesome job.
Fantastic. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Jeff, he's the editing wizard, so he'll get everything cleaned up. And then
okay.
I will email it to you.
So that'll be just about the time we play that show.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Joe, it was an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks.
A lot of fun.
Yep. Bye.
All right, man. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.
road and makes their own mistakes. Hide in the headlights, fight the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Hey. Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites their tongue and pays their bills instead. Hide in the spotlights, fight the grip of death. You can have the air you need, but you best not take one breath. Hey. Roll the dice. Take your chances. Everybody knows the game is fixed, there is no prize. Everybody pulls the plug and says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take